Hello and welcome to Jurassic Park 3 Minute. We'll be discussing the second Jurassic Park sequel one at a time. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And today we're back to discuss minute 55 of Jurassic Park 3, but before we get to that, over at Jurassic-Pedia we have a nice little article here, and we probably should have looked at this when we were first introduced to Eric, but it is an article on Eric Kirby himself. I think we'd, a couple of minutes ago, we forgot how old he was, and 12-year-old son of Paul and Amanda, and goes through a bit about him, how he ended up there with Ben Hildebrandt and the dinosaur tours, and a lot of the stuff he got up to on the island that we see in the film.
Mm-hmm. It also adds information from the recently kind of hypothesized Adventure Survivor canon that kind of parallels with the films.
Yeah, a couple of things he added. Encountering a couple of raptors in the compound and needing to escape, needing to have to survive, finding his bunker, finding supplies, and then coming back to find a Triceratops leaning up against it, sleeping. Again, I need to find those comics, those books. But that's the article on Eric Kirby. Head over to Jurassic-Pedia.com, and there's articles on Eric. There's also a new article up there for Franklin Webb as well from Fallen Kingdom, so head over and check it out.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you got my bag.
Yeah. Lucky strap.
Alright. David, ready to get into 55?
Sure.
As we entered minute 54 of Jurassic Park 3, the Spinosaur had roared and burst through the fence, and everyone had turned and sprinted for the small building on the top of the canyon wall. They all ran through the open doors at the front of the building and slammed the doors shut behind them, locking it with several locking mechanisms to keep the big animal out. At the 14-second mark, after pounding on the door several times, the Spinosaur roars in defeat and walks away from the building. Paul and Amanda once again turn and hug their son. At the 28-second mark, Billy and Grant walk past the Kirbys into a large circular room. There's a staircase in the middle that goes down and up to different levels. Computer monitors on the wall and on the floor, and the floor's covered in broken grass, leaves and debris. Billy asks Grant if he wants to give the bag back, but while Alan's looking out the windows into the fog below, he says it's okay Billy, I've got it. At the 37-second mark he takes a step forward and says please give me the bag, it's not safe. With this, Grant turns from his canyon view and takes a step back towards Billy and looks down at his camera bag. At the 47-second mark, he starts to unzip the bag and opens the top to reveal two large eggs hidden inside. And as the minute ends, Grant says, "Raptor eggs? Did you steal raptor eggs?" As we have on 55, we get a shot of everyone entering the building. We get the two large steel doors here that have sort of opened up, and as they close the doors, we can see the Spinosaur charging in the background towards them, and but it's not just one type. There's several different. You've got the old classic big bolt that just slides across the whole thing. You've got another one they turn and pins go up and down into the floor and ceiling, sort of like a naval, bulkhead. Yeah, like a bulkhead. Yeah. So one question is, this doors and sort of thing's been built when there's been animals on the loose, because you don't build this just to keep the mice out or the rats. But then we get the sort of the impact just as they get the last lock, like the big sliding lock they slide across. We get the pounding on the door and the Spinosaur roaring outside. And again, as we said last minute, this was supposed to be raptors chasing and raptors pounding on the door, which makes a lot more sense. Yeah. And even if this door's so strong and it's a concrete building, from what we see later, this building's perched on the side of the canyon. If it was attacking the building with some force there, it could probably dislodge it and just slide it off the side of the building and take the aviary with it. Yeah. But yeah, it is one of those issues where we're just seeing it bust through a fence with somewhat little of ease, and then it comes to this metal door, and and that's it, because outside the animal pounds a couple of times and then roars in defeat and just leaves. And there is, yeah, as we said before, there is that concept art of the raptors chasing the group towards this building. We can, I think we've posted up before when we first seen it, but we can post it up again. But Amanda and Paul take this opportunity once again to hug their son. Grant and Billy look at each other, then walk past the family. We get again that great sound effect, much like we had back in the embryonics administration, of just footsteps on glass and debris on the floor. Yeah, and that's an interesting one, because we're like they're here looking down over the canyon, so it's not as if animals animals have come in. Maybe they've been punched out by animals that have been, because I don't think you can see when they're running towards the building, and we cut to them already having the doors open and coming in. So maybe those doors had been left open and animals had got in here, because even they sort of walk past this staircase here, you can see there's computer monitors laying on the ground. Something's been in here and knocked over a lot of stuff. Yeah, yeah. I wonder if, well, obviously so many monitors, there's got to be sort of like video. There's got to be cameras all through the aviary, so they can, if whatever they can't see from the observation area, they can see on the monitors themselves. Because there's a pair here behind Grant as he walks past the staircase here, and then when we get them discussing back and forth behind Billy, you can see another lot of monitors on the far side wall as well. But as they walk past the stairs here, they walk past sort of a large hand-powered winch, much like you'd see on yachts, which is sort of weird. Mm. Yeah, whether that's connected to whatever we've seen on the roof, or when we next couple of minutes when we get down, we do see some hand winches down below as well. So maybe there's some sort of shuttering that can come up or come down to open or close. There might have originally even been some sort of kennels there to open and close doors for the pteranodons, so they weren't always out flying around. But I'm not quite sure how you get them back in. Um, hmm. Yep, yep. And sort of again, as mentioned before, like they've got that forward tilt to them too, so you can actually look down. You're not having the windows are sort of already facing the area, the direction you want to look, and you've got this sort of half semicircle wall here of just windows and glass. And with the broken ones, again, if this building was here before the hurricane, and there's no reason to believe that the wind, the hurricane, the storm hadn't punched these windows out in the strong wind, especially where it's situated here on top of the canyon. There's also a trolley here as well, like a hand trolley or a cart. We don't see a lot of, I don't think. Not in this minute anyway. We might see more of it next minute. So we can probably discuss a bit more of it there. But we get Billy. It's time to ask Alan, and he asks Alan for the bag, and Grant looks out the broken window. He says, "It's okay, Billy, I've got it." So, like in the novel, it's described as being really thick fog, which it'd have to be, because we don't really know how far above the canyon, or above the mesh roof of the aviary this observation sort of deck is, but it must be pretty high if you can't see any sort of steel framework through the fog. And because it's sort of out overhanging the edge of the canyon as well, you wouldn't be able to look down and see what's below. Because I can admit, when we get to the script, he looks down the staircase and can only see fog, blanket, like sort of covering up what's down the bottom of the staircase as well. So, and as I said, yeah, before, Beard behind Billy as he's sort of asking Grant for bagging, to see more computer monitors on the wall and the floor behind him as well. But Billy takes a step forward and says, "Please give me the bag." And this sort of gets Grant's attention. He turns away from the window to stare at Billy for a moment, and Billy continues, "It's not safe." And then Grant looks down and slowly opens the camera bag to reveal raptor eggs. 2 of them. As we discussed before, sort of in the script, the reveal was way back when the raptors were chasing Grant. He discovered he had the eggs on him and what was going to happen out of that. But here, he just sort of looks at him and asks Billy, "Did you steal raptor eggs?" And that's where the minute ends. Mm-hmm. That's what I thought too. It reminded me a lot of the emergency bunker. I really wish there was an abandoned vehicle parked out front, just to show how they've got here some way. They've come in, got out of their normal clothes, and obviously put on some overalls or something to go down and do their studying or handling of the pteranodons. I was going to ask if you ever did a floor plan of this, but it'd be pretty easy. It's just a round room with an entranceway and a staircase in the middle. Yeah. Well, we can discuss that next minute when we get down to the platform below, because we do have that image of sort of the canyon laid out as it would be, and then where each thing was shot. We had the sets, we had the sound stage, and we had the big canyon they built out the back of the backlot at Universal. But that's for another minute. Dave, anything else on that before we get to script and novel comparisons? Alright, the group, in the script, the group enters the structure. We see giant windows designed to look into the canyon beyond, but there's nothing to see but thick fog. Toward the centre of the room, a spiral staircase leads down to a low level. With Billy lagging, Grant approaches the stairs and peers down the circular opening in the floor, but there's not much to see, just fog and a glint of sunlight. So yeah, we get in here and deal with this a lot quicker than what we get in the film, in the script. No, the Spinosaur's already gone, it's not chasing them again, so there's just that little bit of tension for the film, considering now we're going to go down and explore a new area. But in the novel, the door's explained to be very sturdy and made to keep animals out. There's several deadlocks on it, which a deadlock wouldn't keep a Spinosaur out either, but the Spinosaur pounds on it a couple of times and drags its claws down the door, but then gives up. As Grant looks around the single room building, he sees large windows on one side looking down into the canyon. It looks like an observatory of some sort, but to observe what? He tried to look out one of the windows, but thick fog obscures his view. And Grant sees Billy approach and asks about Udesky. Billy replies, "Raptors got him." Shaking his head, "They set a trap, can you believe it?" Which I thought was really interesting. In the film and the script, we never get Grant ask about Udesky. The last time he's seen him was when they all ran out in the field with the hadrosaurs, and now there's no Udesky. Whether he assumes it or... I just found it odd that Grant never mentions Udesky's name in the film itself. That's a good question. Well, he's heard Paul and Amanda yelling at Mr. Udesky. No, Amanda was doing that while they're in the trees. I don't think anyone says his name. Oh, it's a long plane ride down. I'm sure they would have been talking or heard it. But Alan's listening grimly and says, "We'll get out of this. We just need to keep moving." And Alan started for the centre of the room where the staircase spirals downwards, and Billy says, "Hold on," and grabbing his mentor's arm, "I want to tell you that I'm sorry." And we get this whole sort of thing. Billy apologising for Grant having the eggs, and I want to tell you that I'm sorry. I could have got you killed. I know it was. I know that it was stupid. And Grant just stares at his student, and a few feet away, Paul, Amanda, and Eric heard the strain of Billy's voice and turned to listen. Billy says, "Please, just yell at me, call me an idiot. I know I screwed up." Alan just gaze narrows, and he had no idea what his student was talking about, and he had a feeling that he didn't want to know. But he lowers his head. Lowering his head, Billy said in a whisper, "What did you do with them?" And Grant asks, "With what?" And then Billy says, Grant asks Billy, "What are you talking about?" And Billy finally seemed to realise that Alan wasn't following. He didn't know, and he hadn't looked in the camera bag. And Billy says, "In my bag." And that's when Grant opens the camera bag to find a pair of raptor eggs, both intact. He'd been carrying them the whole time. And that's when we get the spiel we're going to get next minute with getting them back to the mainland. I'll just put a bookmark in it so I don't lose a page. So that's minute 55. David, anything else on that you want to discuss before we get heavier today? Yeah.